G'day guys, welcome back to In My Shed on BC. Bit of an update on what's been happening in the shed. I haven't had a video come out for some time now, I think about 5 or 6 days, and I am retired. Working on this tailstock, this green monster here, although it will soon be grey. I'm following up on the blue and white Avon Brigade. There's a row of bolts along here that hold a cylindrical sleeve into the main body, and I just can't undo them. I've made up a really good Allen key, cut a little bit short on the front end with a pipe on the back end, and it just stripped the behind out of the inside of the heads there. Typical cheap Chinese socket head cat screws, and I'm very loath to apply any heat to the body simply because of its a casting that's been machined and precision ground, and I don't want to warp because I've got no way of retrieving it. So I'll just have to put up with leaving that casting as is. I'll show you, I'll turn the casting back over again in a sec, and I'll show you the basic guts of the inside of the tailstock and why I've had so much trouble getting the thing apart. And there was a bit of a hidden factor in amongst all of that. I'm surprising just how good it is despite the abuse that it's had with 60 years or 70 years whatever of grinding. It has had a major rebuild. Now I've put a straight edge up along the table, and I'll be showing that probably in the next episode, and the tailstock end has a 5/1000 dip when compared to the workhead end, and it seems to be even, and it ends right in the middle of the table. So I would say it's just the tailstock's been dragged backwards and forwards for 60 years without it being cleaned off, and I have found a couple of articles to that effect on the internet. So what they do, and it's the case with this one as well, the base of the tailstock casting, I'll bring you in closer later, is machined back less the wear amount, and shim plates put in the bottom. Now it does seem to work, and you've got to appreciate the only criteria with cylindrical grinding is that your two centres are in the same plane. It doesn't matter if there's a whoop-de-doo in between, as long as you can adjust it so those centres are reasonably in line with each other, you'll get a good cylindrical grind. Now you can allow reasonably easy for any rotation or taper in the part by moving the table backwards and forwards, and the height of the wheel against the workpiece, provided it's not too small in diameter, doesn't matter all that much. You've got a little bit of a leeway, a thou or two. So a rebuild like this is quite reasonable, as long as he doesn't make things so bloody tight. I had the 1/8 Allen key just about like a banana and almost at a yield point, and the cap screws would go crack and undo. So yep, he wasn't going to let any of this escape. Anyway, enough of me gets on. I'll cut the video here and bring the cameras in for a little bit of a close-up. Bring you back soon. Okay fellas, got both cameras rolling. I've got a B12 camera just in case things don't go too good today. I've been hoping that the audio in the newer camera will come good. Okay, this is the main body, and as I was just showing, these are the shim plates. They look like about 4mm. I don't know what the material is, but they show very little signs of being scraped backwards and forwards. I expected to see big gouges, so I don't know whether it's been a recent rebuild or what the story is. There's a small amount there, but it's more visual. If you can't feel it, it's not more than half a thou or so. So yeah, a bit of a clean up. They'll go back together. They're held in by countersunk socketed cat screws, and as I said just a few minutes ago, by God, he had those up bloody tight. Okay. This is just a window to look into the guts. I don't know why it was assembled there. There's nothing you mount up from the bottom unless it's for a different model. there is an extension to the quill rack operating shaft. The pinion shaft goes down the bottom, so maybe there was an item in there at another date. Okay, this is Mr. Quill. I've run a file across the end of it, and the reason I did that is it's been systematically abused by the grinding wheel, or should I say the donkey operating the grinding wheel, and it's taken a crescent shaped piece out of it successively. Not just once or twice, but many hundreds of times. Even this front cover has been worn back substantially. So I'm of two minds. It's in a sealing groove, there's an O-ring goes around there. Do I go to the extent of trying to rebuild it? Well, being this hard, I would probably destroy the quill, and I think it's chrome plated even. Destroy it trying to repair it, even using something like silicon bronze. It would be an extremely difficult job, and for the small amount of use it's going to get, I don't know that it'll be necessary. In use, I'll probably just pull a rubber condom or some kind over there, a finger off a rubber glove, and use that to protect it. But that's the quill, quite an elaborate lubrication system, the rack teeth, and that keyway there is a key inside the housing, and there's a screw comes in from the back, and that's a bit of a story. I couldn't find that screw because the previous bloke had painted over the shit that filled the hole up. It looked just like a homogeneous piece of the casting. Now I look back at it and it's hilarious, if not sad. Now, one thing in operation, and it could just be a bit of adjustment, and I don't think this is the original dead centre. I can see it's been all ground on the face there, and a reasonable job, I suppose. But when you've got the guts inside the quill, this does not want to engage with the quill. It does seem to fit very, very well, but it's too well. No, I got it out. But it's up against the ejection rod, which I'll show you in a few minutes. So to check it, I got a relatively little used 3 Morse taper collar chuck and dropped that down in the spindle. And it seems to have a reasonable height above the end of the spindle, and it fits like the proverbial finger in the bum. There's no slop there whatsoever in any direction. So I'm assuming that if I have to make an adjustment later on, that will be with the, try a new dead centre to start with, or adjust the axial rod. Now try and get my directions correct. It's got 4. That's the back end. This end, I think. No. No, it does want to fit, and I haven't lubed it up, so I'm not going to force it in there. It might not be forthcoming. Oh yeah, she fits. See if I've got any lube left in the can. Oh, there is a touch. No, I've had it in my hand for a bit too long. It doesn't want to go back in, and I'm not going to force it. But I can get it assembled easily with a bit of lube. I'll do so. Okay, inside the back goes a big tension spring. This is the pinion assembly that drops down through the top. That operates in the quill, in the rack there, to put the pressure backwards and forwards on the centre. The pinion itself has a split housing, and there is a rod that screws in from the back and pushes into that recess, and that clamps the pinion, so the pinion can't go wandering backwards and forwards of its own accord. And that's the extension of the pinion shaft that goes down through the bottom. So there might be, for a different model grinder, a different attachment there, automatic push button on off of the clamp, I don't know. But that is one sturdy quill, just pinion to operate this little quill. I noticed also I've got a burr on the rack, so it has been whacked at some time, I think. This is the little tensioner for that clamp, and it screws into the back of the housing. Absolutely dead simple, and that just comes up inside the quill and clamps that onto it. Up the guts of the quill goes this stopper shaft. Now, the fastest are elsewhere. There's a knob that goes on the back of the shaft and locates it behind the adjuster. And I don't know if this is a factory job, but the knob screws onto the end of the shaft. It was cross pinned with not a taper pin, just something soft, and he'd peened the bejesus out of it. There is no way known to ever get that out. But in operation, when you move the quill down, this protrudes from the back of the adjusting nut here and gives you something to whack to push the Morse taper out of the front end. Now, that may be worn, I don't know, or I'm thinking that the centre is the wrong centre to fit in there. But that bolts up onto the back and goes into the quill. It's a shame that quill won't go in, but that's what happens when you've got hot hands. This assembly here with the spline inside goes on the front of the rear cover plate, and that just locates that nut, stops it from turning, and that allows the spring to be compressed backwards and forwards up against the face of that nut, and that controls how much feed pressure you have on the nut, the spring pushing up behind the centre. Behind this, on top of there is just a cover plate, and this is a locking plate that drops down inside. So quite a simple affair. All of these items, by the way, show absolutely no signs of wear. They've even resisted the butchery over the years. I've got a little bit of cleaning up to do. My biggest concern in putting this in is how the hell am I going to wind that bloody spring up. I've had a few of these to do in the past, and success rate so far, old goat, 0 springs, many. What I'm hoping to do is get all of these items assembled and painted and put back up on the table, because it's occupying so much of my shed here. Every flat surface has something that's just been painted sitting on top of it, and it's laid up the shed. I just can't do too much work. I intend next week to bring my loco building stand back in and put it in between the radial drill and the lathe where I've got my bench grinder stand, and that'll give me somewhere to build the riding car for the new club loco. Okay, that's what the old bloke's been doing for the last week and a bit. I'm glad the spindle and the machine is built so robust. It gives me a little bit of hope I'll come out with something good at the end. Okay, if you will, please like and subscribe, and I hope I don't have to use the B-roll. Okay, I'll say my goodbyes properly, hoping that this will bring you back for another exciting episode of In My Shed. This is something that's very hard to put forward how much work goes into rebuilding a grinder like this. Just cleaning the parts of the 3 main accessories yesterday and getting them prepped up for painting took about 3 hours, and I still have 2 coats of paint to put on today before I can start to assemble. So I'm looking at another day and a bit's work, part-time of course, to get the accessories to the stage where I can start to mount them back up on the grinder. And even then, that's only after the table has been inverted, cleaned, painted and ready to put on for itself. So yeah, it is quite a major undertaking. Okay guys, all for now.